Medium SUVs are getting bigger every year, not just physically because the vehicles themselves are growing, but also in terms of popularity with Australian buyers. These are the new battleground for family buyers in Australia in the new car market, and the judges will be paying particular attention to things like practicality, comfort and value for money in this segment. Let's take a look at our three contenders this year for Drive Car of the Year Best Medium SUV. Behind me over there, you got the Volkswagen Tiguan Allspace, 7-seat flexibility, and according to Volkswagen, luxury without the luxury price tag. Behind me, on that side, you've got the reigning medium SUV winner and the overall Drive Car of the Year award winner, the Kia Sportage. That's a fantastic vehicle with a number of powertrain options and a number of price points across the model range. It's going to put up a strong fight. Right here, though, the newest entrant to this segment, the Nissan X-Trail. It's fair to say that Nissan needed this vehicle for quite some time. Looks impressive on paper. Let's see how it stacks up against the competition. Drive Car of the Year is the culmination of testing hundreds of cars over the previous 12 months. The process ends here at a year-end showdown where we gather the best of the best to determine which car will take out not only the overall Drive Car of the Year honour, but also the coveted gongs for Best in Segment. Our independent judges forensically examine and test each car. While all categories are important, there's arguably no more crucial category than medium SUVs, which have become the go-to vehicle for families all over Australia. To arrive at their decision, the judges focused not just on how the vehicle drives, but also on a number of areas that are important to families. How much space does it have? Can you fit a pram and a week's worth of groceries in the cargo area? Is it affordable to maintain, and does it come with the latest safety technology? Of course, Drive Car of the Year considers the entire range and not just a single highly specified variant at the top of the range. And that means that any model that wants to have a chance at taking out the honours needs to offer most of what the buyer expects, even in the most affordable models. The battle for sales in this category is hot, but the fight for Drive Car of the Year honours in the medium SUV segment is even hotter. The medium SUV Drive Car of the Year winner from last year, the Kia Sportage, and of course, the overall winner, one of the judges from this segment, Sam Purcell. Sam, we're expecting big things from the Sportage again this year.
Absolutely. This is a great medium-sized SUV. Some of the standouts for the judges, and myself included, was the ride quality. This thing does ride really nicely. The interior is spacious and it does present really well. And I do like that low entry price. You can get a 2-litre petrol engine with a 6-speed manual. That brings the price down, although that 2-litre engine does feel a little bit weedy in the drive sometimes.
The Kia Sportage has long been a firm favourite with buyers in Australia, and for good reason. Affordable, practical and with cutting-edge style, the Sportage range offers plenty of choice, including a manual gearbox for those who like to keep things old school and simple. As the reigning overall Drive Car of the Year, the judges continued to be impressed by the Sportage, citing its interior comfort and practicality as big pluses. The judges also praised its on-road performance, although noted that the 2-litre petrol engine in the range could feel a little underdone at times, and that weighed against the Sportage at the final reckoning, certainly in this competitive set. That's not to say the Sportage has suddenly become a below-par medium SUV. It most certainly isn't, and anyone who hands over their hard-earned cash will be more than happy with the decision. But with some newcomers in the category looking to topple the king, the competition has gotten just a little bit tougher. Volkswagen Tiguan Allspace. This vehicle has got a long history of success at Drive Car of the Year awards. We know the Tiguan is a good vehicle intrinsically. Sam, I think Volkswagen sells this on luxury without the luxury price tag.
Yeah, and I think that does work for them really well. This car, it does have great pedigree. It is getting a little bit old in some respects, but there is a lot to like about it. Good, torquey, turbocharged powertrains, both petrol and diesel, and I do like this Allspace option as well. You've got a bigger boot, which is always good for a family buyer, and an occasional use third row. But the ride quality really does let it down, especially in comparison to the other two entrants.
The broader Volkswagen Tiguan range does a great job of blending mainstream affordability with a touch of European flair and design. Here though, the Tiguan Allspace adds some extra weaponry to its arsenal in the shape of a third row seating setup that ups the ante in terms of practicality with the ability to seat 7 people. While the third row does offer some peace of mind for those who sometimes need a 6th or 7th seat, the reality is the tight and cramped confines of that third row are best saved for occasional use. We liked the willingness of the turbocharged engine, whether petrol or diesel, but felt it was a little let down by the brittle ride, especially around town over some of our test routes' patchier road surfaces. But the positives, such as a big cargo area and a thoughtful and elegant interior, as well as those 7 seats, outweigh the negatives, and the Tiguan Allspace is a worthy finalist in this company. The newest entrant in this segment, and I attended the launch of this vehicle a couple of months ago, and I suspected right off the bat that it would be competitive in the medium SUV segment. Sam, the Nissan X-Trail, it goes without saying, this is a vehicle that the brand needed desperately.
100%. The X-Trail has been a popular choice in the range for a very long time for Nissan, but the old one was very old, and this one is all new, and there is a lot to like about it. The powertrain is really good, the CVT is good even, it's spacious and it's practical on the inside. But in terms of value for money, I would say the higher spec models do seem to fall off a little bit.
The new Nissan X-Trail has been a long time coming, but it's been worth the wait. Nissan's player in the medium SUV segment impressing the judges at every turn. From its simple but practical and spacious interior, to the willingness of the powertrain and even the excellent calibration of the CVT automatic, the X-Trail shone brightly in a category already brimming with stars. The X-Trail range encompasses 2-wheel drive and all-wheel drive platforms, as well as a choice of petrol and hybrid powertrains, a broad range of options to suit plenty of tastes and budgets. And the winner is the all-new Nissan X-Trail. You might not find that surprising because this is, of course, the newest entrant in this segment, but I can tell you that the judges had to work overtime to dissect this segment and come down to a winner. A very, very closely fought battle, but the Nissan X-Trail comes out on top. The judges' final scores don't reflect just how close the tussle for top spot was, but in the end a unanimous verdict saw the Nissan X-Trail take top spot ahead of the outgoing drive car of the year, the Kia Sportage, and the Volkswagen Tiguan Allspace. Nissan opted for what we would consider to be the sweet spot in the range, the 2-wheel drive mid-spec X-Trail STL, and while the final judging was close, X-Trail came out on top with a unanimous decision. The X-Trail impressed the judges with its ease of use, undoubtedly the easiest car to drive amongst this competitive set. It simply felt effortless at all times. The ride and handling impressed as well. Our test loops included some pretty ordinary sections of suburban roads. In fact, they're the kind of roads that most owners would encounter on a daily basis. The X-Trail swallowed up those sections with poise and aplomb, and the 2.5 litre petrol engine never felt like it would run out of puff either, with the impression that there was plenty left in the tank. It was also the most fuel efficient in this company, and by some margin recording an average of 8.5 litres per 100 kilometres over a mix of conditions. The next best was the Kia Sportage at 9.4 litres, the Tiguan Allspace a comparative glutton at 10.0 litres even. The judges also agreed that the 2-wheel drive STL specification provided for Drive Car of the Year testing also represented the sweet spot in the range. Its blend of affordability, drivability, comfort and practicality, a winning combination.
This was a really close run thing, with the judges deliberating for a very long time to come up with a winner. For me, the Nissan X-Trail ticked a lot of boxes. It had the best powertrain with effortless performance, and it was the nicest car to drive.
It was a unanimous decision for the X-Trail to win, but that doesn't tell a story about how close it was between this car and the reigning champion, the Sportage. We all know how good the Sportage is, right? But this X-Trail, it is an impressive car overall. I think one of the big things for me was the 2.5 litre 4-cylinder powertrain and that CVT automatic gearbox that feels really good, and that's a powertrain that is available across the range before that hybrid turns up later in the year. There are some other things which I think are really important for a family SUV. You've got some storage solutions on the inside, it's spacious and comfortable, and there is good solid safety right across the range. That's really important for a family car.
The 3 big factors that the judges liked about the X-Trail's cabin are visibility, practicality and comfort. So starting at the end first, this is an incredibly comfortable cabin. Even in mid-grade that we're testing here, this is the STL, remember. Comfortable seats, comfortable seating position, really good visibility from the driver's seat and the other seats as well as the second row. Really good for passengers. The other factor is storage and practicality. You do have to step up to the more expensive variant to get the bigger screen and wireless charging, but across the range, you still get a good quality screen and plenty of storage. My smartphone's in there, you've got cup or bottle holders here, and this floating center console means you've got a clever storage space down there as well. Very, very clever for family buyers, and that's why it's scored so high with the judges. Moving into the back seat, the judges loved the sense of space and again, the visibility that you get back here. But first, have a look at that. That door opens to almost 80 degrees. That means it's easier to get in and out. It's easier to load kids into baby seats and capsules. Huge bonus for family buyers. Again, the visibility back here is fantastic. When you sit here and look out through the front windscreen, you're up nice and high. You don't feel like you're sitting too far down into the cabin. Plenty of room. That's my driving position. You can see I've got heaps of room for my legs and my feet. You get air vents in STL spec. You get a USB-A and a USB-C input there as well. And of course, the fully flat floor, or almost fully flat floor, I should say, is really good in terms of foot movement as well. And then of course, with X-Trail, you can slide that seat base forward and back, really handy as well. The judges look at this segment, and we keep saying it, with practicality for family buyers in mind. So first things first, under that floor, you've got a sturdy space saver spare. Now it's not as good as a full-size spare in terms of practicality, but it's a hell of a lot better than either no spare at all or a goo kit if you need to try to patch up a tyre on the side of the road. So, not the absolute best in terms of a full-size spare, but handy if you tend to go on longer road trips. On the subject of this floor, we like the fact that it's pretty much flat through there so you don't have to load things down into it, but Nissan has been quite clever. You can remove the floor altogether to get a bit more depth if you want, or you can use the floor sections to partition it off so that if you've got, say, your grocery shopping, you can put that all in here and this will stop it from going forward and back into the boot space. Very clever. There's also a second one back there that does the same thing. That removes. You get a sturdy luggage cover. If you fold those seats down, you also get a flat section almost all the way through, which is very handy for longer items if you're putting bicycles or sporting gear in. The other point worth mentioning is this tailgate here. I'm not bashing my head on it unless I really try to do it, which is very handy for taller buyers because there's a real tendency to whack your head on them if they don't open up as far. As I said, we keep saying it, but the practicality of these vehicles for family buyers, the size of the luggage space, the flexibility of it are all very important. I'll tell you what's just as important as that is what it's like to drive, so let's do that right now. When you judge these family-focused segments, you could say, pretty fairly, that the way the vehicle drives is less important than value for money and practicality, but still, families are going to spend a lot of time in these medium SUVs, and as such, we pay careful attention to how they behave on road, largely in the city, and then also out on the highway, because we want to factor in what might happen when you go on longer road trips. So let's look at the X-Trail suspension first. It doesn't ride quite as well as the Kia Sportage in this segment, and that's to be expected because the Sportage has that quite excellent Australian suspension tune. So Sportage just pips it there, but X-Trail then gets back ahead when you factor in the engine and the gearbox. This has got an excellent CVT, and the engine itself is really, really responsive. It's actually quite efficient, and it's a very smooth package when you put the two together. So driving this around town, whether you're in stop-start traffic or you're on the move, is comfortable, economical, and it's pretty enjoyable as well. So the engine and gearbox are both fantastic, and that's a noteworthy point because we don't love CVTs, but the CVT that Nissan has used in this X-Trail is a very impressive one. The other factor that really comes into city driving with these medium SUVs is the physical size of the vehicle, because positioning, parking, getting them into shopping centre car parks, tight garages, that kind of thing, that's a real factor for mum and dad buying these cars to drive the family around. While the X-Trail is larger than it used to be or larger than it's ever been, and this whole segment is getting bigger, it doesn't feel too big. And I think that's a really important point to make. When you're behind the wheel, it doesn't feel like you're driving something that's that much bigger than, say, a regular hatchback or a small sedan. So that's a really important point and a good tick to the X-Trail and the way it behaves. As far as an around town tool to get around when you load the family up and you're just in the city as we are now, it's comfortable, it's practical. The fact that it's as efficient as it is around town as well, we're currently using just over 10 litres per 100 in traffic with a lot of stop-start driving, is a real noteworthy factor for family buyers who are on a budget, because the cost of petrol is pretty ugly and it doesn't look like it's going to get cheaper anytime soon. When you add all of those factors together, the driveline, the suspension package, the way it feels behind the wheel, the practicality and the user-friendly nature of the cabin when you're on the move for family, that's why the X-Trail is as impressive as it is. That's why it scores as highly as it does with the judges, and that's why we say it's the best medium SUV in the 2023 Drive Car of the Year Awards.
Do you agree with the judges? Have your say in the comments section below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe to keep up to date with every category in this year's Drive Car of the Year testing. And if you want more information, head to Drive.com.au for the latest news, reviews and comparisons.